have Thanksgiving coming up. We have Thanksgiving dinner coming up. And a big thing in the United States is that people kind of dread getting together because they may have different political beliefs or different religious beliefs and things like that. And, people worry about how they're going to avoid certain situations. And this is looking very much like a Thanksgiving dinner situation.
She's not a girl who misses much. Oh yeah.
Hey, this is D in Spirit. We're going to do holiday reading 3 now. And we're just going to let Spirit... Oh, and that was really fast, so I'm sure something needs to be said. The King of Feathers, the Judgment of Solomon. Then the king gave his ruling. Give the living baby to the first woman. Do not kill him. She is his mother. 1 Kings 3:27. So there's a call this holiday to have really sound judgment. And it could involve children. It could involve family. It could involve moms and babies. But to have a sound judgment and to think through things before we act fast and make any, rash decisions, we need to really take our time this holiday. And then we have the Two of Chalices, the bond of David and Jonathan. And Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself. So we've got the Judgment of Solomon. I'll just show you the picture because these are really pretty cards. And then we have the bond between Jonathan and David. And this is about brotherly love. So right judgment and no snap judgments, and definitely and the brotherly love is, in this case, was just two best friends that have always been together. So you may have that going on right now. We have the Nine of Feathers. Peter denies Jesus. Then Peter remembered the word Jesus had spoken. Before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. And he went outside and wept bitterly. Seven of Candles. David and Goliath. David said to the Philistines, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. 1 Samuel 17:45. So this is our Peter denies Jesus. And this is the Seven of Candles, where David fights Goliath. Okay, so it's a holiday read. This is the third one, and it looks like, we have Thanksgiving coming up. We have Thanksgiving dinner coming up, and a big thing in the United States is that people kind of dread getting together because they may have different political beliefs or different religious beliefs and things like that. And, people worry about how they're going to avoid certain situations. And this is looking very much like a Thanksgiving dinner situation. The King of Feathers is a call to use wisdom and strategic thinking, to be analytical and value the truth, intellectual clarity and authority, and be unethical, wisdom and fair judgment. So you hear all those words in there: truth, ethical, justice, fair judgment, right? So those things are obviously things that you're being called. This is our first card out. You're being called to have those things at that dinner table. And then the next thing that came out is our Two of Chalices, which is a bond or a covenant between two people. So there may be something that maybe you agreed with this person last Thanksgiving about this particular thing, but this Thanksgiving you don't agree, right? And so you have a covenant, you have a bond with this person. And you're being called to value the truth. You're being called to be strategic. You're being called to approach it in a way that is ethical and fair. And you're being called to stand up for your beliefs, because with our this David and Goliath, you're definitely being called that, yes, in this situation, maybe, maybe you're really outnumbered in your home. Maybe you're really outnumbered. Maybe you're having to defend certain beliefs and values that you might not even believe you're having to defend. But you have unique strengths to deal with this. And your victory is through persistence in being that, finding the truth, ethicalness, fairness. That's your strength in dealing with this. And I believe in safeguarding this relationship or this covenant, because this person may not quite be where you are on their journey, and they may be on their way, but it may not be someone that you want to throw away out of your life, right? So you are being called to, this is a hard sell. King Solomon deciding who gets the baby and David fighting Goliath. It's you're being called to really be strong about what you believe and really stand up for it, and be sure of yourself, and at the same time to use this strategic thinking to not be in a place of the nine of feathers, because this is a place of regret. If you are in a place of denial, okay, like denying where you are in this journey, denying the fact that, say, I have a problem with this or I have a problem with that, and they bring it up, you will end up with guilt and remorse and your own mental anguish and despair, and worried about the consequences of egging the thing on that you no longer are in agreement with. And this leads to a lot of inner turmoil. So basically it just leads to somebody with their head in their hands like that, and you may save that relationship, but if it is with untruth, right? If it is with that you just went along to get along, then you have not followed the advice of this card, and you're going to end up in that state of denial where you did not stand up for yourself, and then you have a problem with you, right? That's what happens. You had a problem with this person, and you chose to handle it by not speaking your piece, by just going along to get along, and then you end up with a problem with you, and you end up with your head in your hands over not just saying what you would normally say, because you're a person who values the truth. So we're gonna pull a Jesus Words card. That's that's Thanksgiving dinner, isn't it? In some cases, if your family still gets together, and particularly if it's a large family, there may be many times when the King Solomon, and that's another thing about the King Solomon, ethical, fairness, truth. Every single case, like this baby and this mama, he had to come up with a clever way to figure out who was who, right? So every single case requires its own clever maneuvering around. If it is to say nothing, then that's what's to be done in that case, right? So perhaps if you don't like the way your siblings maybe are raising their kids or something, something like that, the King Solomon move at that time maybe to be quiet and to not say anything, in order to keep the covenant with your brother or your sister or whoever it is that's at that table, that you want to honor this covenant that you have with your family member. And again, yeah, you may be outnumbered, or the subject that you're talking about may feel very big and daunting, and like you don't really know what to say. And so, yeah, let me see what did the Jesus Words card say? I forgot. It popped out. Watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. Matthew 26:41. So watch and pray, and don't get riled up and then lose your King Solomon, and then end up losing the covenant with your brother or your sister or your family member, whoever it is. So watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. And in this case, I think that probably would be with a mouth, a mouth at dinner time, like just something that just pops out, that we're not meaning to happen. I'm going to grab my I'm going to grab my scripture cards because I think I would like the scripture cards this time with this one. Okay. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved and shall go in and out and find pasture. John 10:9. Lord, thank you for making it possible for me to live an abundant life. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved and shall go in and out and find pasture. John 10:9. So the watching and praying is definitely the way, not to enter into temptation. And then also, I would say also to, also to lean into Christ consciousness as you deal with this. That is how you find pasture, and it's how you find your King Solomon, is by refraining from judgment until you've thoroughly looked at everything very quietly, and dealt with it, and not entered into the temptation of arguments or things that are not just going to be helpful in the situation. And you might want to also, depending on what the issue is, in some cases right now, leaning on the actual biblical text is not a bad idea, because in some cases that may be needed, because I think a lot of times, the reading of the actual text doesn't occur, and so then it's whatever somebody said to them, and sometimes we need to clear that up. Sometimes we need to clear up what scripture actually says. Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. 1 Peter 5:7. So cast all your cares upon the Lord. Watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. And this can be, this is very much a finding pasture, because that was a support system. This whole card right there, it's about having a support system with one another, meaningful friendship, partnership, mutual respect and understanding, loyalty and support, emotional connections, harmony and balance. So that's the pastures there that we're heading to. And in order to do that, then you have to lean into some wisdom and some serious persistence and determination to make that happen. So I hope after this that your Thanksgiving dinner goes really, really well. And I would love for you to comment down below and let me know how your Thanksgiving dinner went. You guys have a great holiday through Thanksgiving, and we'll see you for the next reading. Bye.